Hi, I'm Lily from Merino y Vino, and I am happy to announce that I have officially been a business for a year, so welcome to my 1 year video anniversary special. I am super excited to be able to say that I've been in business a year and that things are going really well, and I'm excited to share some goodies with you. So, those of you who don't know, I decided to start a business in March last year before the pandemic really hit, and then when the pandemic hit, I thought, great, I'll have more time for dyeing. And I didn't realize it would take quite so long. And the fact that we're still in a pandemic, I just didn't realize that it would last this long. I don't think any of us, well, I'm sure the healthcare workers knew what was coming, but I didn't as a civilian. And so in a way, the pandemic has been good for me in the fact that I've had more time. Like many of you out there, I have had losses, and I do know people who have had COVID-19, and my heart goes out to everyone right now because it's been a really hard year for everyone. So in some respects, I'm grateful to have the extra time, but in others, it's been a really hard year. So yeah, I got interested in yarn dyeing, and like most people, if you didn't know, you get started with food dye, and you can use food dye and vinegar and heat and any pan that you want, and bingo, you can dye. So I had some bare yarn that I probably was saving from a different project, and this is one of the first yarns that I dyed using a green food dye. I love how it turned out. I call it sea glass. It just seems like something that would come from the ocean. And because it is one of the first things I've dyed, and I used food coloring, it's a great price. You can buy it on my Etsy store, and it's lace weight. It is soft. So, and it's a nice consistent color too. Similarly, with another bare yarn that I had, I dyed this with food dye, and it turned into kind of a deep coral, which I love. And you can also find this on my Etsy store, again, for a good price because I was just starting out and kind of experimenting. Another yarn that I love is Monsoon Sunset. And you can see things changed pretty quickly. I, started dabbling in different techniques very quickly. And this one I used Resist in 2 different colors to come up with all of these different colors. And I love purples and blues, which you can definitely see in my store. And so I still love this. It is, again, very soft, superwash merino wool, and it's just really enjoyable. So you can still find that on my Etsy store. And then additionally, once I made the transfer to acid dyes, that's what I've pretty much been sticking with. I haven't been using food dye anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I still haven't really experimented with Kool-Aid. So if you really want to get started with dyeing and you just want to buy something easy, you can just buy the little Kool-Aid packets. It already has citric acid in it, which is another mordant for yarn dyeing. Basically, if you're going to use food coloring or an acid dye or Kool-Aid, you need something acidic like vinegar or citric acid. Citric acid is edible. You can actually use it to clean quite a bit in your house, which is kind of nice, and it's not too expensive. So yeah, Kool-Aid is a super easy way to get started. It's like 10 cents a packet or something, and you buy it. And again, you can use pots that you use for food and bare yarn. You can try speckling with it. You can try making semi-solid yarns, tonal, variegated, etc. So for instance, this is a variegated yarn, and these 2 are semi-solid. We can't say solid because there is some room for color changes, even when we do our best to be consistent, because in order for it to be a solid, you basically have to dye the fiber and then spin it to really even everything out. However, I have been getting more refined in my techniques for semi-solid yarn, and this is Jillian's Burgundy. Jillian is my sister-in-law, and she's also a graphic artist, and I am participating in the 2021 Sock Along hosted by Yumi Yarns, and Shaina's wonderful from Yumi Yarns. She is developing 12 different sock patterns this year, and the earlier you start, the less expensive all of the patterns are. So for March, I think it's $6 and you get the patterns for January, February, and March through December only for $6. Next month it'll be $8, but still $2 a pattern, even if you buy in December, is a great deal. She's also taking time to show off a different yarn dyer each month, and I'll be represented in July, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I would check her out. I would check out the other indie dyers that she's supporting, in addition to many more out there. But it's a pretty cool opportunity, and I've definitely learned a lot about sock knitting this year, considering for some reason I've never really knit socks before, but I like it. Anyhow, Jillian is my sister-in-law. She's a graphic designer. She knows a lot more about fashion than I do, and she and my brother-in-law Jacob are also artists, and so they're really good with color. And so I dyed this for her, and she also developed my logo for me because I'm not artistically inclined, but I greatly appreciate their help and their eye for color because they're so attuned to everything, and they're just really nice people. So I'm really excited about that. To go with Jillian's semi-solid burgundy, I also dyed up a variegated version, and you can see that has kind of yellow and burnt orange, navy, and then even the burgundy is different. And I do that for two reasons. I think it's fun to have multicolored yarn, and I've seen a lot of wonderful projects that puts yarns like these together, and that's why I designed it. And there's also a little sparkle in here. This is a sock yarn, so you can do socks, shawls, accessories. You can do other things too and just hold the strands double so that goes faster. But yeah, I'm really excited because I just suggested to her, oh, I can knit you a pair of socks since I'm knitting socks. And she suggested burgundy, and that gave me an idea for a whole other colorway. So I'm grateful. And so for you guys out there, if you have yarn color ideas, I do have on my Etsy store an opportunity where you can tell me what you're looking for, and then you can be on a Zoom call with me or a Google Meet call with me and see how I dye, and we'll talk through it the entire time. It's the same cost as just buying a normal skein of yarn, which is, I think, a pretty great deal. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to see something else that I could offer in my shop, please let me know. I'd be happy to dye whatever you like. The other yarn I wanted to show you guys is actually one that I hand spun. I'm calling it Cotton Candy. It's 100% Arizona alpaca. And I am currently working with Wendy from Peaceful Prairie Alpaca Ranch. And she's in Prescott, which is pretty close to Flagstaff. And she raises alpacas. She takes very good care of them, knows a ton about them. She also has some merino sheep. And her alpaca is so soft. I can't describe how soft it is. And so I have some of her fiber that I've dyed, and I have hand spun yarn that I have dyed and then spun into yarn, but it's truly some of the softest yarn I've worked with, and I just love it. Another yarn that I love that's also from Peaceful Prairie, this is 100% Northern Arizona alpaca, 2-ply. Also, the mill made this yarn in Northern Arizona, so if you're looking for local, like, this is where you can go, and it's super soft. I call it Happy Hanukkah for 2020 because of the blues, but regardless of your religious affiliation, it's just a really fun yarn, really soft, and again, it's 100% local. And then my friend Kristen wanted me to knit her a custom blanket, and she wanted specific colors too, and that also gave me an opportunity to experiment with colors. So she wasn't sure if she wanted green, blue, teal, and so I developed this navy for her, and this is in a chunky yarn. I only have one right now, but again, anything that you see that you want more of, just let me know. I'd be happy to dye it more. So she liked all the colors, at least I think. I hope I'm not putting words in her mouth. But she ended up going with a teal. However, and the lighting's a little weird in here, so, but she suggested a green, and I made this emerald that I think is just stunning, and I'm planning to dye it more in different bases this month because March seems to be a green month. I'm not sure if it's because of St. Patrick's Day or if it just seems to be all over the place, kind of still dark from winter a little bit, but spring's coming. And so I just think this is stunning. And in the light, it's looking a little washed out, unfortunately. But, and so the final color that I actually had for Kristen's blanket is this teal. And she wanted it not to be as jewel tone as I normally dye. So that's another reason to contact me, is what I like and what you like may be a little different. And it's turned out really pretty. I love how it's just a really pretty look in the blanket. So this is what it looks like caked up. And I am going to have a few extra skeins. And although I'm still working on it, I'm almost done. You can see, I mean, it's so big, but you can see the pattern and how with indie dyed yarn, you do alternate 2 yarns at the same time. I do 2 rows in one cake and 2 rows in another. It's just easier for me on, well, I'm using a circular needle, but since it's a blanket, it's easier than doing some method where it's every other, where it is every row. But it still gives a beautiful effect, and I'll be releasing the pattern for her blanket hopefully later this week. So it's just really great because there's so many knitters and crocheters in the world right now. I read probably about a decade ago that there are more knitters in North America than there are golfers, and yet golf seems to take up a lot of, you know, airtime on TV, and there's tons of golf courses everywhere. And now, of course, with crocheters and weavers on top of it, like, there's a lot of us out there. So even if you don't knit, crochet, weave, do macrame, needlepoint, or another fiber art, you probably know someone who does. And what I really enjoy as a knitter, spinner, dyer, and beginner crocheter is that my friends will reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love something like this, you know, could you make it for me? And I'd love to. I'm gonna be knitting anyway. Like, that's just what I do. Especially this year with the pandemic, it's been very stressful, and knitting and crochet and all of these fiber arts are a way to de-stress. And I hate to say that I'm a high stress personality, but I think I am. However, I appear to be laid back because all of my hobbies are, you know, to take my stress away, which is kind of funny. I think I have a dark sense of humor. So working with Kristen to get this blanket made was just amazing, and I loved it. Another thing, I guess I'll go ahead and cut to the chase for what I'm doing for my anniversary month, is this month all of my products on Etsy will be 10% off with free shipping. And I know some of you guys are thinking, oh, you know, can't you do a little better? Well, I can. I'm gonna raise you. I have a wonderful coworker. For those of you who don't know, I am an English teacher. I teach high school, and that has been particularly challenging this year. We will be going back in person soon, so it'll be nice to see students again. But still, it's not going to be the same as it was before the pandemic, at least not yet. And, you know, I think all of us are going to have some residual mental health issues going into the future. So yeah, it'll be good to see my students in person, but just being in person isn't going to solve everything, as I'm sure you all know. But anyhow, one of my coworkers is Tracey, and she's the culinary teacher at our high school. And besides making incredible food and being an amazing, multifaceted woman who can do so many different things, I hope to interview her soon and have a YouTube video where you guys can see her and hear her voice. And she's super humble, but she's absolutely amazing. I cannot sing her praises enough. And she makes soap and lotions and bar shampoo, which is wonderful. Here in Flagstaff, a lot of people, including myself, try to treat the environment really well and you know, reduce our use of plastics, etc. And so that's what Tracey's doing as well. She's making soap, and so everyone who buys some yarn or something this month will get a bar of soap. I guess not the digital downloads, but if you buy something physical. And so she made this soap just for me, and it's a 1 ounce bar of soap. And her company is called Transported. It's lavender swirl, and it smells amazing. Like, you could just put this in your bathroom, close the door, and it's, your whole bathroom would smell incredibly wonderful. Before I had my first daughter, we went to England, and I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, and Jane Austen actually grew lavender in her garden, and so the lavender is still growing today, which is pretty cool. And we got to take some home, and this just, as soon as I smelled this lavender swirl, I was just instantly transported to Jane Austen's garden in Alton, England, and so that was really special. The other reason I asked Tracey to do a lavender soap is because moths tend to be repelled by lavender and cedar. So you could also just put this soap with your yarn stash, and it would help with moths. She used coconut oil and lavender essential oil. So if you're allergic to coconut, just an FYI. However, I already opened one of the samples and I used it, and it's amazing. It bubbles really nice, and by the time you get the soap bubbles off your hands feel squeaky clean, which makes you think they'll be dry. But no, then it feels like you've already put lotion on your hands because of the coconut oil. And so it's just wonderful because it's a 2-in-1, and then your hands smell like lavender, and you touch the yarn, and maybe some of the smell goes onto the yarn. I don't know, but super excited about this, and everyone will be getting one of these bars of soap from Tracey, and that's free this entire month as well. Additionally, for next year, I'm planning way ahead because I'm actually pregnant. I am 25 weeks pregnant with my son, and he's due towards the end of June. So I have to kind of plan in advance. So I'm planning out colorways that I'm going to be releasing soon, and what colors I'm going to release after he's born. But I also want to do an advent calendar, and surprise, surprise, I'm a huge Jane Austen fan. So I'll be working with Tracey and Shaina from Yumi Yarns and some other people to get an advent calendar started for January of next year that will go from the day Pride and Prejudice was published through Valentine's Day. And there'll be a project bag, a pattern, goodies every single day, soap, tea, etc. And so it's just going to be a wonderful time to make something. There'll be a shawl pattern and sock pattern, you can choose one or the other. And so I really hope you guys take advantage of that, because it'll be wonderful. It's going to be quite enjoyable, and I am very excited to see what Shaina designs and to make one myself because it's just really exciting. And then I'll be releasing another colorway later this week called Peacock. So yeah, things are just chugging along. I absolutely love being a yarn dyer. I'm so grateful that I started this business a year ago, because I always knew that the knitting community was a warm and welcome community, and it's just increased tenfold because it's not just knitters that I connect with, but crocheters, weavers, indie dyers, designers, and everyone is so nice. I never thought I could become friends with someone I hadn't met in person, but I have, and it's happened multiple times, and I'm just so honored and touched and grateful for all of the support I've gotten this first year. And I'm really excited to see where my little business goes over the next few years, and to support other entrepreneurs, all types, and to just continue making this community warm and welcoming. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching this video and seeing some of my yarns. And I will have links below on YouTube to connecting you to Tracey and Shaina and all of the other people I'm so honored to be working with. And I look forward to hearing from you to see, what you guys would like to have me do this year and in the future. So thank you so much, and I hope 2021 treats you way better than any year before, but especially better than 2020. So have a great day.